Welcome on Texas football. I'm Bobby Burton. Talking a little Texas football this Sunday morning with you. I've got a little bit of an update from yesterday evening. Jabbar Muhammad, the cornerback out of the University of Washington that went into the NCAA transfer portal after the national title game. He visited Texas about 10 days ago, then visited Alabama, where Coach Kalen DeBoer is now the new head coach for the Crimson Tide. And then over the weekend, he visited Oregon. He has officially committed to Oregon now. That's Jabbar Muhammad has committed to Oregon. This is not seen, even though Texas had an opportunity here, this is not seen as a big loss for the Longhorns. Texas would not offer him a starting position, given the fact that Manny Muhammad and Terrence Brooks are both returning to the Longhorns this year. But it does mark an end of things, so to speak, for the portal right now for the University of Texas. I'm told as of right now, Texas is not expecting any more portal targets to visit or transfer in for the spring semester. So the drop dead date was January 30th. I'm told that right now looks like it's going to stop at the number that it's at. Texas has 8 total commitments from the portal. 7 of them have already enrolled in school. The only one that has not is wide receiver Silas Bolden out of Oregon State. He's going to be a grad transfer once he graduates from Oregon State this spring. In total, that leaves the Longhorns with 8 transfers, as I mentioned. 3 receivers, one tight end. Then you had 1 defensive tackle, 1 edge prospect, 1 linebacker, and then 1 safety / nickelback kind of hybrid guy, and Andrew Makuba out of Clemson. All in all, it's been a very successful run for the portal for the Longhorns. They may have picked up as many as 4 starters in the portal, which is just an incredible amount considering what they wanted to try to accomplish this year. I want to go from here to one other thing that happened. So I mentioned the portal here. I'm leaving out some rather significant news. So obviously, Michigan and Coach Jim Harbaugh left. On Friday, the Wolverines announced Sharon Moore as the head coach of the Wolverines. He was the team's offensive coordinator. So earlier on Saturday, Michigan defensive coordinator Jesse Minter said he would be leaving to go to the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. What does that mean? Well, the now Sharon Moore has some answers to make and some decisions to go through. One of which is whether or not he elevates Steve Clinkscale, his defensive backs coach, to the coordinator position, or Mike Elston, the defensive line coach at Michigan, to defensive coordinator role. Both of those guys very popular in the locker room at Michigan. Or does Sharon Moore go completely outside the box and bring in someone new? Here's why I say that's important. The majority of guys at Texas, at this point at least, would be interested in at Michigan, obviously, are on the defensive side of the football. No player of note right now that we are aware of has entered the portal for Michigan. Could that change over the next 24, 48 hours or the next 26 or 27 days? Yes. That doesn't mean, however, that they could enroll at Texas necessarily for the spring semester. So what may happen here is Michigan may have, got through this tough part of immediate entrance into the portal, but we don't know what's going to happen after their spring game. Again, the portal reopens for players from every school April 15th. Texas will not be immune to that, by the way, but it is something to consider. The other thing that happened on Saturday, was Jabari Antoine, defensive back, cornerback, really, out of Westgate High School in New Iberia, Louisiana. Same high school as Derek Williams, the starting safety for the University of Texas. That was a true freshman this past year. They were high school teammates. Texas had a reel in there because Terry Joseph not only recruited Derek Williams, he was also recruiting Jabari Antoine. But Antoine, over the weekend, committed to LSU. Corey Raymond, the defensive back coach at LSU, is back from Florida. They're very excited about that. He's trying to rekindle some relationships in the Pelican State. I think he's going to do just that, especially down in the New Orleans area. But this is what kind of rings alarm bells a little bit for me as I'm looking at the Texas recruiting roster right now and what they've got coming up in 2025. That makes 2 of the top corners on the board off the board for the Longhorns ostensibly. We don't know for sure that Antoine Antoine won't eventually visit Texas, but right now he's saying he's committed to LSU. Also, Devin Sanchez out of North Shore has already committed to Ohio State. So that only leaves 4 guys so far that Texas has offered in-state at cornerback. Caleb Chester at Fort Bend Marshall, Kobe Sellers at Shadow Creek. He was up at Oklahoma over the weekend. Dorian Brew, who is apparently leaning to Ohio State, even though Texas has been making a big run. He's from Conroe. And then Javian Holiday, a corner out of Duncanville that is currently committed to SMU. Now, Texas has offered Demetrius Brisbane out of Tyler Chapel Hill, but he may be considered more of an athlete than a strict corner. Really, those are the only 4 corners that Texas has offered outside of Devin Sanchez in the state of Texas. Now, there are a couple of guys that I want to mention from out of state that I think Texas might be able to still plug in. A couple of them have big ties to Texas. First is Devin Williams, out of Buford High School in Buford, Georgia. You may say, well, Texas is not going to get a guy from Buford, Georgia. But let me tell you something. That's where Isaiah Bond is from. Isaiah Bond played at Buford. This is a tie that could be used for Texas's advantage. Williams, one of the top cornerbacks in the South, period. He's one to watch. Then there's 2 more guys, actually, that I want to mention that are both from the same school, and they also have a tie to the Longhorns. And that is Darius Dixon and Chuck McDonald, both out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. Both of them have been offered by the University of Texas. Dixon said over the weekend that Texas is one of the schools he's kind of honed in on at this point, along with some others like Tennessee, et cetera. Texas not only recruiting those guys, obviously, at Mater Dei, but also Jordan Davison, the running back at Mater Dei, is a big target of Tashard choices in the running back room. And then also the other one to mention is Marcus Harris, the wide receiver at Mater Dei that visited Tennessee last weekend. He was down in South Florida at an all-star event this weekend, or a 7-on-7 event. He mentioned Texas as a potential school as well. So I'm kind of, I don't want to ring too many alarm bells or say anything, but it does look like a couple of big-time prospects right now. And Texas wants two big-time players at corner this year in this recruiting class of 2025. 2 of them are already off the board, potentially. If Texas doesn't somehow get back in with them, that's Devin Sanchez and Jabbar Antoine. So on top of everything that's happening here today, Longhorns weekend, relatively quiet from a recruiting perspective. There was a chance at one point that they were going to bring in Takorian Davis, the defensive back out of Arizona. That did not transpire. And obviously Jabbar Muhammad now committing to Oregon. That tells me, and based on what I've been told personally, that this is now a shutdown kind of scenario for Texas right now. Now, if something happens at Michigan tomorrow or the next day or even later today, then the Longhorns, all of this could change. But look for Texas to double down on 2025 recruiting right now, getting guys back on campus, getting out to see them the next week as well. And then look for this. Look for Texas to really start preparing and getting ready for spring practice as well. CJ Vogel had a good point on Friday about some of the things that have gone on during winter workouts this far. One of them that I wanted to bring up was Quinn Ewers asserting himself more and more. Last year, somebody asked me about this. Last year, yes, Quinn was becoming a leader of the team. What CJ was trying to explain was now he is the leader. He was trying to become one last offseason. He is one now. There is a categorical difference for that, and that's one of the things I'm looking for the rest of the year. The other thing that CJ mentioned was Anthony Hill stepping up in a similar type of role, perhaps like Quinn did a year ago for the defensive group as well. All right, that's going to do it. I just want to give you all a quick update on Sunday. Muhammad to Oregon, Jabbar Antoine to LSU. Texas still looking for some players in the portal, but right now there isn't anyone in there, and the spring semester is closing. So that's pretty much the update for here, and be looking forward to more on these defensive backs. I think in particular, the ones from Mater Dei could be very, very interesting for the Longhorns. For Bobby Burton here, I'm having a little fun today. This has been On Texas Football. Hook 'em.